Let me once again say that it is indeed a great pleasure to be here. I thank the organizers for giving me this award. I thank the incoming dean, who has been so kind to say such wonderful words about me. I also thank him for the opportunity to speak some French with him. I never lose the opportunity to speak French because that's how I try and keep up my knowledge of French, because I left Paris in 1974. I have been asked by Professor Chari to speak about the Infosys journey and some of the lessons that I learned from that journey. And I do believe that these lessons are generic enough for many of the people assembled here, particularly the younger ones amongst you, Maria, Brian, and others, because they are going to be future leaders of this country and this world. Infosys was founded in 1981 by a team of 7. The founding team had what I would term mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive set of skills, expertise, and experience. There were people who, in addition to their expertise in software, had some experience in human resources, in finance, strategy, technology, sales, and marketing. I do believe that this was one of our USPs. At that time, there were no venture capitalists in the country to connect us with prospective key employees. Hence, we had to start with such a complementary founding team. The common attributes of this team were aspiration, hard work, meritocracy, integrity, honesty, confidence, commitment, passion, hope, and enthusiasm. We realized that our dream had to be based on a lofty vision, something larger than ourselves. Our aspiration derived strength from Leo Burnett's words, and I quote him, and he said, "When you reach for the stars, you may not quite get one, but you won't come up with a handful of mud either," unquote. We wanted to create India's first company of the professional, by the professional, and for the professional, as President Lincoln defined the US democracy. We also wanted to create high disposable income jobs for young men and women in India. Above all, we wanted to demonstrate that wealth could be created legally and ethically. We longed to disprove the stereotyped view that all businessmen were crooks. Therefore, we chose respect from every stakeholder as our corporate objective. Building a business, to me, is all about great aspirations, and it is about deferred gratification. My colleagues had to trust the leader's words and sacrifice upfront with the hope for a better tomorrow. I found out pretty early that the best way to obtain the trust of younger colleagues was to lead by example. This is particularly true in an environment where educated people observe, collect data, analyze it, come to conclusions, and act on them. My inspiration for leading by example came from Mahatma Gandhi's words that one must be the change that one wishes to see in one's followers. The odds were against us. We had very little money, just $250. In fact, we borrowed the initial capital from our generous and trusting wives. It was difficult to attract good people. Nigel has already described the environment. I don't need to go into further details. We had neither a decent infrastructure nor a brand name. The market for customized software just did not exist in India. The Indian rules and regulations in the 1980s were far too bureaucratic. India had an inward-looking economic policy then. The bureaucrats just did not trust the private sector. Businesses faced difficulties in obtaining even basic infrastructure like phones and data communication lines. We believed, therefore, that our aspirations would be our possibilities, and therefore we had to aspire to something big. We worked hard and built the organization step by step. Infosys grew from just $130,000 in revenue and 12 employees in 1982. We have Ravi Subramaniam, who was one of our youngest colleagues then, right here. We grew to $3.89 million and 300 employees by 1992, the first 10 years. The economic reforms of 1991 reduced the friction for conducting businesses in India and improved the velocity of decision-making in organizations. We used this opportunity to grow. We recognized the need to adapt to change and acted according to the words of Charles Darwin, that it was not the strongest of the species that survived, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. We took the opportunity offered by these reforms to globalize our operations. We focused on exports, conceptualized and implemented the global delivery model, built world-class infrastructure, and became the first Indian company to be listed on NASDAQ. Infosys has grown its revenues consistently for 75 quarters in a row since we went public in India in 1993. By March 2012, our revenues reached almost $7 billion, $6.993 billion. Today, we have over 145,000 employees, around 30 overseas officers, and more than 700 active and satisfied clients. Let me now discuss some of our core beliefs and principles of Infosys. I believe, as I said before, these will be useful for every young business leader. The goal of a corporation is to maximize shareholder value ethically, legally, and on a sustainable basis, while being fair to its stakeholders, that is, to customers, to employees, investors, vendor partners, government of the land, and the society. The clause sustainable basis is extremely important. Sustained growth requires the company to have a strong value system. I define a value system as a protocol for behavior that enhances the trust, confidence, commitment, and enthusiasm of the team members in each other. The value system of a company builds its character and ensures longevity. At Infosys, our value system can be summed up by a belief that the softest pillow is a clear conscience. Simple rules are easy to understand, easy to follow, and easy to communicate, and easy to practice. Above all, you cannot cheat somebody else with simple rules. Hence, I believe that companies should concentrate on simple business rules. If you want to implement complex rules, you should first understand them and translate them into a set of simple rules that your stakeholders can indeed understand. We believe that a company has to be fair to every stakeholder. I do not know of a single corporation that has a stakeholder shortchanging policy and survived in the long term. Such focus on global stakeholders requires that we follow the highest degree of transparency and the best principles of corporation. It is best to bring bad news to the investors early and on a proactive basis. That's why we at Infosys believe that it is best that the bad news takes the elevator while the good news takes the steps. Investors, we have understood, respect organizations that disclose their mistakes and make sincere efforts to improve. At Infosys, we have consistently adopted world-class transparency and disclosure standards even before it was mandated by law. For instance, in 1995, Infosys suffered losses in the secondary market. Under the then prevailing rules in India, we were not required to make this information public. Nevertheless, we published this information in our annual report. Our philosophy towards transparency is based on our belief, when in doubt, disclose. In order to attract and retain the best, you have to uphold the respect and dignity of your employees. There must be merit, fairness, and transparency in every one of the decisions that you make. We believe that every decision must be based on data and facts to eliminate personal biases. That's why we believe in the adage, in God we trust, everybody else brings data to the table. We believe that every organization has to respect its employees. We have to provide them with challenging work. We have to create good prospects for them. We have to share wealth with them. We have to empower them with world-class infrastructure and technology. This will enhance their performance and also help us attract and retain the best talent. We have shared about 35% of the equity of the company, valued at approximately about $11 billion US today, with our employees. Peter Drucker says, and I quote him, "The most important thing to remember about any enterprise is that there are no results inside the walls. The result of a business is a satisfied customer," unquote. I add that there is only one entity that pays a corporation month after month after month. That is the customer. Therefore, a corporation's survival depends on satisfying and exceeding the expectations of its customers. Unless we live up to the best examples of customer focus and customer fairness, we cannot enhance or maintain our market share. My role model in customer orientation is Sam Walton, who says, and I quote him, "The customer is the only boss. He can fire everybody, including the chairman of a corporation, simply by spending his or her money somewhere else." Historically, revenues from existing clients account for 90% of our revenues in the company. We take care to deliver on time and within budget while meeting the highest quality standards. In these days of complex problems, every company has to collaborate with the best vendor partner in the world to solve its problems. If we want trustworthy partners, we have to live up to our partners' expectations in honesty, fairness, transparency, and accountability. We believe that the governments everywhere have shown faith in us by implementing favorable policies for our growth. It is our duty to justify this faith. Society contributes customers, employees, investors, and bureaucrats. Society elects politicians. Therefore, society is an important stakeholder for the success of a corporation. A core value of Infosys is a strong sense of societal responsibility. Infosys Foundation addresses the basic needs of the poorest of the poor. I am reminded of Harry Fosdick's words that the world is moving so fast that the man who says something cannot be done is generally interrupted by someone who has already done it. Peter Drucker's words that innovation and selling that innovation must be remembered as time invariant and context invariant by every one of us. Another set of such attributes for the enduring success of a corporation are openness to new ideas, meritocracy, speed, imagination, and excellence in execution. In fact, speed in imagination is the most critical success factor for a corporation. The challenge for all of us is to benchmark on a global scale, and I believe that is the best way to succeed internationally. To do so, every company has to have an export orientation so that it can indeed compete with the best in the world in every dimension. Risk recognition and mitigation are important functions for a corporation. Our PSPD model, that is predictability, sustainability, profitability, and de-risking, help us achieve this. We de-risk our business by taking action to reduce risks identified through our weekly, monthly, and quarterly analysis. To operate in a globalized world, Indian companies, I believe, will have to learn to leverage the power of multicultural teams, operating seamlessly across nations and bringing diverse expertise. This is especially important since the stakeholders of our companies, that is clients, vendor partners, suppliers, employees, and investors, are all global for today's corporations. At Infosys, we have leveraged the strength of professionals of various races, genders, religious beliefs, and nationalities. Folks, these are some of the lessons that I have learned in this wonderful journey of 31 years. I am extremely grateful to the University of South Florida and its officers for their kindness in inviting me here, in showing such kindness, such generosity, and such affection. All that I can say is I will definitely work harder and hopefully smarter. Thank you.